catch up with us. So again, everybody, welcome to our orientation for aggieTERM. I'm going to go ahead now and share my screen again. And I want to thank Dr. Costa because I know that comes from a place of love and care. And I hope you all receive it that way. We have your best interests at heart. I remember there was a story done of our first cohort, and the title of that story in the local press read, "We Got Your Back." And I know that my colleagues believe that as firmly as I do, that we really want you to be great teachers, but we want you to be safe at all times. So thank you, Dr. Costa, for that. And so, yeah, no worries. I appreciate it. Mackenzie's my baby too, so we want to make sure that they're safe. Thank you. So everyone, we want to welcome you officially to our orientation. I am recording this meeting. We want to get you all out of here on time, so I'm going to keep my eye on the clock. It's 5:07 now. We have a quick agenda, I think. We have 16 topics that we want to share. I want you all to take notes, and if at any point you want me to stop or need us to stop, please stop us. But there is a place at the end of our presentation today where you can ask some questions, and we'll try and get you some answers tonight. I would advise all of you to go to your email and download the handbook that I emailed to you all a little over an hour ago, and it has a lot of this information in the handbook. So again, welcome. So we don't have time for a lot of different sort of, introductions, but I thought we'd play a quick game. I need you all to get a piece of paper, or just the residents, and your pen or pencil, and we're gonna play a word scramble game just to get you all loosened up. And so I want you to, in 45 seconds, and Dr. Hugo, can you get your stopwatch out for us? And come up with as many words as you can in 45 seconds, and we will tell you when to go. And the only rule is that it has to be a real word, right? And it has to have a minimum of 2 letters. So I got a little special prize for the person who comes up with the most words, all right? All right, tell us when to begin, Dr. Hugo, and when to stop.
All right, go.
What word are we using? The word scramble?
aggieTERM, Brian ISD, that's our word.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
What can
40
you get?
seconds left.
Move quickly. And you have to hold up your paper when you're done.
I want to play.
Yeah, me too.
$15 seconds left. Five. Time's up.
All right, residents. Okay, so how many of you got 5 or more? Raise your hand. Got 8 or more? All right, Amanda. Anybody beat Amanda's 8? I don't see, but Amanda, go ahead with hold up your paper. What you got? Read them off. Unmute your mic.
Germ, mad, sad, bad, tag, grad, sit, ran, and yam.
Okay, that's 8. Anybody beat Amanda? Go ahead and turn on your mic.
I got 12.
Woo! Okay, read them off.
Me, you, two, word, second, school, pen, pencil, paper, phone, soda. I just started writing stuff that was around me.
I love it. I love it. So that's 12, Karina. Anybody beat Karina's 12? Engage your mic. Oh, woo, good job, Karina. You're our little winner for tonight. And I will email you and let you know what your little gift is, okay? All right, congratulations. Look, we just needed to just sort of loosen up, and we look forward to connecting with you all face to face. But in the meantime, we got to stay connected by any means necessary. So thank you guys for joining in that little game. We're going to move on with our agenda. So I want Dr. Hugo to chime in here to help answer this idea of what aggieTERM is, because I think it sort of clicked for a lot of our residents from year one about what aggieTERM was, probably around month 5 or 6, and that's way too late. We want you guys to know upfront what aggieTERM is. It is not meant to be something that takes the place of your current assignments or give you extra assignments. It's really a dating service, I like to call it. We are here to connect your experiences from the field with Bryan ISD and all the great work that you're doing in teacher prep at A&M, and we bring it together, and that's what's known as aggieTERM. There's nothing additional. We just provide a mechanism to make that connection important and meaningful. And so it's important that you understand that we all make up aggieTERM. It's not no sort of far away idyllic place. It's the residents, it's the classroom mentors, the principals, the community mentors, all of your great professors who are on with us tonight, and it includes myself. So all of us as a family, we make up aggieTERM. Any comments, Dr. Ibarra?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, let me see. Yeah, my mic is on. I think that aggieTERM is a life opportunity, and I've seen it even more lately. Before I kind of was told not to go around campuses, I was visiting or trying to see the residents, in person for the first time, and I went to a lot of our cohort 1 residents who are now teachers, and I thought, oh my gosh, it worked. They were excited. They didn't seem as they were worried. I mean, they still have a lot of work to do, but they were not as scared, I guess, as some current teachers. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is a great opportunity. This is an amazing group of people. That one of the words that I was thinking about, in a good way, spoiled. It's a spoiled, taken care of group of future teachers.
It really is putting a community around you to make sure that you have the proper support as you move from being a pre-service teacher to being an in-service teacher. Your senior methods instructor, university supervisor, all of your professors here, mentors, principal, all of us coming together to say, we got your back. And a lot of new teachers don't have that. They sort of start the process on their own. They go out in the field, they don't feel connected, and then they start their careers and they don't have a community to support them as well. And so aggieTERM is saying, we want to be that community for you. Dr. Walichowski, you've been in on this with me from the beginning as a partner. We've worked alongside each other. Any comments to share?
I guess what comes top of mind is when I went to observe the students.
Your mic, Dr. Walichowski.
Okay, sorry, this piece was up. When I went to observe the students in the spring, one of the things that definitely stood out is their level of confidence in comparison to clinical teachers, either just starting that semester or even further along in the semester. And so you could definitely tell that they felt like they had entered their own and that they were very confident in the work that they were doing, learning and executing on the teaching as well. So that was just neat to see. They just carried themselves with a higher level of professionalism and confidence. And I guess because we had set up that structure early on, that you are now technically considered more an employee of the district than you are a student of the university. And it took a while for that message to sink in, but once it sunk in, I think they were able to really embrace that.
That's a good point. Thank you both. We're going to move on now to our next topic, and that is the calendars. And so we don't have time tonight to go over the Bryan ISD calendar, and I'm sure that Dr. Ibarra will bring you up to speed on that. Dr. Ibarra, you had a comment?
Yes, ma'am. Just because this, as you know, about 2 weeks ago, Bryan ISD updated its calendar, and it looks different now. And thankfully, I really would be surprised if any of our residents didn't know the new calendar, but just wanted to make sure that they knew, because our calendar looks different now as of about 10 days ago. but they have the updated calendar. I mean, I think so. They have
Okay.
been, the residents have been on it, have done everything that we've asked them to. We just haven't had time to catch up with everyone, but they have the updated calendar, yes.
I think what's important for our residents to understand is that there is a calendar, and you know, your senior methods instructor, Mrs. Carter, is online. She's going to talk to you about that. There is a Texas A&M calendar for your courses. Then there's the Bryan ISD calendar, and then we have a couple of social events as well. So last year, our residents got a little confused, you know, trying to keep everything organized on their personal calendars. And so what Cassidy has done for us, and she's my GA and she'll be helping us with aggieTERM. She's on vacation this week, but she's created an interactive calendar here. And when this call is over, well, I probably will wait for her to come back next week so she can update it, but she's already started an interactive calendar. So you can click on it and see everything that is expected and the deadlines for Bryan ISD, as well as for your deadlines for your senior methods course and any other extra activities that we have going on for aggieTERM. So it's all in one place. And so I think that's really going to help you all stay organized as you sort of juggle, you know, your university responsibilities as well as your school district responsibilities. So we'll get that link to you. It's already complete. I do think Cassidy is working on some minor tweaks, so we'll wait for her to get back and we'll send that out to everyone. We'll also make sure that this calendar is embedded on our web page at the university, aggieterm.tamu.edu. So if you ever think, well, where's that link? We're gonna make sure that that link is on our web page as well. Okay?
Can I say something real quick?
Yes,
Just,
sir.
it's important for, one thing that I've learned the last 5 days is that the residents' calendars and then our calendar has changed, but they both have changed. So not everybody seems, maybe everybody has the same day, but I'm not, well, they don't actually. So just this, I would like to say that this is the calendar with a caveat or a couple of caveats, because we have people from different programs, and but they have been very good about asking questions.
Oh, good. And what we've done, because we have aggieTERM students in Caldwell and Bryan, Cassidy has done some color coding. So all the dates that appear in orange are for Caldwell, all the ones in blue are for Bryan, and then all those that are joint activities have a different color code. So you should find it very helpful, everybody. Okay, I'm gonna move on. All right, so this is sort of our timeline for the year and sort of like the big picture of what to expect. So the summertime was really an opportunity for you all to get to, you know, connect with the school district and have some PD opportunities. So I know that you've already made those connections and you're getting started, so that's great. The fall, two things are going on. A lot of balancing has to happen here. That's when you are attending classes, you know, with your, for your senior methods course with Mrs. Jean Carter. And you're also going into the schools 2 to 4 days a week, depending on your schedule. So you're having to balance that as well. In addition, we want all of you to also get your certification exam. We originally had a due date that, look, we are changing the due date because things happen. The exam centers sometimes aren't open. So I want you all to know we're going to be flexible and work with you all. I'm going to talk about your exam on another slide, so we'll get to that in a moment. Another thing that you may want to consider, it's a little bit too late for this semester, but next semester in the spring, that's when you're doing your clinical teaching. That's when you take on, at some point, full responsibility into the classroom. So we will have another conversation about how that will happen, but we have an onboarding document that is in your handbook. You'll slowly gain responsibility. For some of you, you may have full responsibility by week 3. Others of you may not have full responsibility in the spring until week 8. But that is to be determined by where you are, your own personal growth, and, you know, sort of the input of your classroom mentor as well. So summer, get to know the school district. Fall, you're in the classroom, slowly learning about the procedures, learning the learners and your partner, taking courses at A&M, trying to sort of manage that dual role, because it is a dual role. You're a student, but you're also considered an associate teacher. And so it's really you all sort of switching mindsets from thinking, I'm just a senior method student. No, 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 not at all. You're moving into a professional phase where you're considered an associate teacher. And then by spring 2021, we can't wait to see you all fly. And that's where you really start taking the reins of that classroom. So your process is a little different than your peers. So you all are entering here in the summer, but take a look at this. This is where your peers really are entering. Look at the time lapse. And that's what Dr. Walichowski was talking about, that all that additional time is not just you're doing time or killing time. You are learning the routines of the school and the campus. You're learning the learners. You're learning the art of teaching. And that's what pedagogy is. You're becoming a professional pedagogue. And so all this additional time gets you ready to have the confidence to be that first year teacher that your students deserve. So that's our timeline, everyone. I'm just going to pause here just for a second to see if there are any quick questions before I move on. All right, I'm going to move on. Now, why is this important? Because take a look at our school year, right? The research says that our new teachers go through phases of learning as they're learning how to teach. They start off in August. That's where we are. Very excited. How many of you are excited? Put a thumbs up, right? But look what happens by the time you get to October, everybody. Your butt is dragging the ground. You're like, oh my Lord, why did I choose this profession? And guess what? We all have been there. Dr. Acosta, Dr. Montague, Dr. Walichowski, Dr. Ibarra, myself, we all have been there. But slowly, once you get your bearings, you start to come up out of it. And by the time we get to the summer again and into the spring, you're going through this new phase and being revitalized and rejuvenated. And here's what the research says happens when you go through this with a mentor, guys. Look what happens. Can someone engage your mic and tell me the difference? What is happening here when you have a mentor? Describe this for me, please.
It looks like the survival portion is definitely not as steep and doesn't last as long as it does in the first one. It just looks like overall you have kind of like a better outlook of your year and are just feeling better about it than teachers without a mentor.
You got it. Well said. You know, you can get through and not just survive, but there's a little bit of thriving that happens when you have that kind of support that you need, whether it is in the classroom with your classroom mentor or whether you're getting support from your community mentor. Not only do you all have a classroom mentor, but a community mentor. So having that kind of support will give you a boost, right, as you go through this process, and you're buoyed in a sense, and you won't have to go through the low of the lows that we all had to go through when you have that great level of support. And you should all know that all of your classroom mentors went through training this summer. We developed a new mentoring academy, and Dr. Walichowski and myself, we developed some of the content and curriculum for that training so that we wanted to make sure that your mentors were prepared to support you. So we took them through the process of how to support you, talking about the best practices in mentoring and coaching. So they're ready for you all now. They already have the expertise, but what we shared with them this summer were additional things to think about in terms of being a mentor. And so I know they're ready and they're excited to support you as well. So we're going to move forward, everybody. Okay, so this slide is created by Mrs. Jean Carter. You want to jump in there, Mrs. Carter? She is taking on a few roles for us over the year. She is your senior methods instructor, one of your instructors. She's also going to be leading the aggieTERM learning community. And also in the spring, she's going to be your university supervisor. Mrs. Carter?
Yes, I'm ready. How are you? So good to see everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. So I want to make sure that everyone knows that our classes will meet online, and we will be meeting the once a week face-to-face online is what I call it. I call it face-to-face online, even though it's technically online, but it's live at the time on the schedule. So that's something you need to know. And you need to be there each week for all your classes, regardless of how they are. I know some are face-to-face and some are online. It will still be interactive, even though it is online. We'll do some team building online. The lesson objectives, you'll know each week exactly what we're doing that day. You need to make sure you're there on time for class, not just for my class, but your other classes too. It's important because the tardies count, 3 tardies count as an unexcused absence. Also, if you miss the very beginning of class, you've missed the bell work. So you need to be there to get the from the first. You will have some homework. You'll be reading and doing some meaningful assignments that hopefully you can apply to the classroom, and then you can also bring examples of what you're seeing in the classroom to those assignments. Some work will be as individuals and some will be group work. We'll have some different technology integrated that hopefully you can also be seeing in your schools. I know some of the things that Bryan ISD is using with students in the schools, and we'll be using some of that in our lessons. You do have library materials available. We'll have some, I'll let you know about that, but even though the library is closed, if you need something from the library, the TLAC librarian, Ashlyn Kogut, can certainly get it for you. You'll be doing lesson planning, reflecting on your practice. I also have some calendar days that will be on your calendar for online study sessions and special topic opportunities. You'll see those dates, they're already on the calendar when you get it. And I also will have weekly online office hours for you. And if you're not available during those times, you can ask me to meet with you some other times. Make sure you do, your online attendance is required. I'm not going to be recording my lessons. So you have to be there during class. I think I have one more slide.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you have not yet forwarded me these forms, please do so as soon as possible. We typically get these before you're in the field. So we definitely want to get your proof of liability insurance, especially before you start working with students. Your FERPA form, if you did one for another semester, I would like you to give an updated form for this semester. So people this semester, professors, we know that we can all talk to the people at the school if we need to. Well, we will be talking to them because we'll stay in touch. I need your travel documentation that you're traveling to your school, filed on record, your proof of your criminal history check, and your emergency contact form. All of those forms are very important. If there was anything at the school that had an emergency contact and they contact us, we have to know who to call for you. As I said, your attendance is required in online class and also in the field. If you are going to be out, you need to inform me and your senior methods instructor for any absences in the field. And we will be checking on tardies. That's just a senior methods all across the board. If you're in senior methods and TLAC, it's the same rule for every single person.
All right.
Yes, and so if you have to miss, just let me know, please, and we'll work around and see what we can do.
Any questions for Mrs. Carter? Okay, very good.
Dr. Hill Jackson, can I say something just real quick to the residents? Last year, we are very fortunate to have Mrs. Carter as your professor here and supervisor. It was the result of the residents, I think, asking a ton of questions that you are not asking right now. So please make sure that you do ask her your questions either today or later, because she is the go-to person for everything Texas A&M and most of the things that are related to Texas A&M and aggieTERM.
That's right. That's right. So when you are on campus, your principal is your go-to person in the building, but for program connection, Dr. Ibarra is your person to go to, okay? And we're going to talk about that in a second as well. And then any issue related to A&M courses or requirements, your go-to person is Mrs. Carter, okay?
Dr. Hill-Jackson,
ma'am.
it looks like Amanda typed something in the chat, and I didn't want us to skip over that. Amanda
thank
asked
you.
if Ms. Carter is not her senior methods professor, does she need to send those forms?
She answered me. We're good.
Okay, perfect.
Sorry, I answered her privately. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. I can't see the chat when I'm sharing my screen, so thank you. All right, so that means, again, when it comes to attendance, and I know Mrs. Carter made it clear about reporting to her, you all have to keep your attendance sort of somewhat in balance, because if you are absent from, let's say, Texas A&M and you've alerted Mrs. Carter, you still have some alerts to do for Bryan ISD. You always have to call in, make sure that your principal and your cooperating teacher are aware of your absence. And then you have to also follow the requirements for Texas A&M. It's not one and done. You have to make sure you report to both. Okay. Next slide.
Can I say something about that real
Yes.
quick? Because the meeting is recorded. And for mentor teachers and principals, and also community mentors, and then for residents. Remember, one of the things that also, this is proof that your feedback matters a lot, because last year's residents didn't have any days off. But what we were trying to do for this year was, let's be realistic. What happens when you get a contract as a teacher in Texas? Technically, you get 5 local days, and then you get 5 state days. If you ever transfer to another district, the state days are transferable, the local days are not. So we don't want you to miss 10 days because you never know when you're gonna need them, number one. However, if you ever need them because you have a wedding, because you are truly sick, or because you just need to get away and get your license and the DPS office is closed compared to the rest of us who are open, we'll need that day. So know that we have adjusted the guidelines so that you are treated as a Bryan ISD new teacher, where people get 5 days, local days, 5 local days and 5 state days. Now, again, remember, your teachers, your students are relying on that. You already know that because you are more excited than ever to have you in the classroom. But make sure that they know, that the principal knows, that someone at A&M knows, and just to double check, include me in the email, and we'll take it from there.
And so the attendance policy for Bryan ISD, it's in your handbook. And just to recap what Dr. Ibarra said, you get 10 days this year, 5 local and then 5 state days. But the policy is defined and detailed in the handbook, okay? So you can refer to the attendance policy there. Thank you,
Yeah.
Dr. Ibarra.
And Dr. Hill Jackson, that's for the entire school year. That's for the fall and the spring. It's not per semester.
That's correct. Thank you for that. I hope can you someone check the handbook and put it in the chat and let us know if it's clear that you have those 10 days for the entire year and it's not just per semester. So you have to be careful.
Dr. Hill-Jackson, one thing that is important for the residents to know is, remember, we have, like Dr. Hill-Jackson said earlier, and when you look at Dr. Acosta and Dr. Walichowski and myself and everybody, we've been there. You may think, oh, 10 days sounds like a lot, but then you get sick. There they go. So please take care of them. Watch them.
Yes.
And also, state days, know that they have to be pre-approved and pre-submitted 3 to 5 days, business days ahead of time, and approved by your principal. So this is just that you get used to what's coming next year when you're
Okay, very good. All right, so COVID-19, I don't want to spend much time on this because I know we're all exhausted with hearing about COVID-19, but there is a reporting mechanism that you all need to be aware of. So if you come in contact with someone with COVID-19 or you are diagnosed with COVID-19, you have to report 2 ways. First, you report to the principal on your campus. You have to make sure that you get in touch with them, preferably by phone, and let them know that you have been exposed or you've contracted it, and then they'll let you know what to do from there on their side. And then on our side, you need to submit a report form. So I'm going to share this PowerPoint with everyone. And so this is our site for the university. Lots of great information about what to do. And also there is the specific form that must be filed if you are exposed or contract COVID-19. So you'll have that. We're very prayerful that you all will be safe, but it's good to know these 2 steps just in case it's needed. Now, a little note about FERPA. We cannot share your information if you do come down with COVID-19 or been exposed. So it's up to you to report. And if an instructor, for example, is expecting you to come to class, it's up to you to report. We cannot do that on your behalf due to FERPA rules, okay? So just wanted to bring that to your attention. Any comment, Dr. Ibarra?
Yes, ma'am. There's a question in the chat box. It says, if we catch COVID and have to quarantine for 14 days, do those count from our 10 days? And that's a not so easy to answer question on my end. And let me just tell you real quick why. Because even though you are treated as employees of the Bryan ISD Independent School District, whenever that happens, there are some, the act is called Families First Coronavirus Response Act, employer paid leave that apply and could be different in this case. So Dr. Hill Jackson, I don't know if you have the answer to that.
I will find out for us, but it depends on whether or not you're exposed or if you are sick, right? So if one is sick and cannot perform their duties, then I would suspect that you would be covered by the Family Medical and Leave Act. If you're just exposed and you're fine and you have to isolate for a while, I don't see any reason why you could not continue your responsibilities online. For example, supporting your mentor teacher. So it just depends on the diagnoses or the circumstance. So, but we will find out. I can't imagine that if you have to isolate, we're going to punish you with days. I wouldn't worry about that at all right now, everybody, but I will get it in writing what our next step is if one is sick and cannot perform your duties. If you have to isolate, your duties then would just move to virtual. Okay, but we're going to be safe. All right, keep the questions coming, not just, if something comes up, please don't hesitate to shoot Dr. Carter, myself, Dr. Walichowski an email, okay? All right, now about your exam, this is super important. So what we wanted to do this year, because we had of our 11 Bryan ISD residents last year, about 7 of them had completed their exams on time. A few of them were stragglers and they waited too long, then COVID-19 hit, and it was a big problem trying to work with them and help them get their content exams and other exams completed. We want to make sure you're ready. So that's why we sort of put into place 2 things. First of all, we want to give you some remediation support. We have required that you all go online and sign up with 240 tutoring. I know this is not new. We've had this conversation for a couple of months now. Cassidy has sent you all the information. Right now, it is free. So if you sign up for 240 tutoring from now to August 31st, you have 30 days free to use 240 tutoring. After that, the regular cost is $39, but we were able to get a reduced rate for $20 a month. So I'm hoping you get this training out the way. As we go through the school year, your responsibilities will increase and you will not have time to do this work. And I know a lot of you have already done it. So thank you for all of you who have, but those who haven't, it's not too late, but please get it done. Number two is that once you get the remediation done and you go ahead and you get your content exam completed, you submit your passing score to us and your whatever sort of fees you've incurred with 240 tutoring, and we'll make sure that you are reimbursed. So all you got to do is give us the documentation for both of these, and we'll see that you are reimbursed for the content exam and also for 240 tutoring if you had to come out of pocket for that. Now, because we're in these, you know, uncertain times, I hate even using that word, but we are, and sometimes the testing centers are closed. So we're going to work for you and with you, and we're going to be flexible. So if you have a testing date coming up and you need to take off from school, we're going to work with you. You just need to email confirmation of your test and testing date to your principal, cooperating teacher, Dr. Ibarra, Mrs. Carter, and I'm going to include Mrs. Montague on that because she's going to help us track and support all of you. Now, Cassidy will be doing the tracking for us, but she will help us in sending out the reminders there. So I'm going to pause here and ask Dr. Montague to just say a few words about testing.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, my video's been turned off, but a slow connection out here. So yes, as Dr. Hill-Jackson said, I will be a resource to you guys if you have questions related to testing or the 240 tutoring. I'll be helping to make sure or track who's completed what. And so if you already have completed any of this, please do copy me on your emails as well. Yeah, I'm not sure what else to say there, Dr. Hill-Jackson, but I think Dr. Ibarra's comment in the chat of prepare the fields for the rain is a really great point taken here, that we don't want to wait to the last minute, but go ahead and begin preparing now. And, you know, it's like waiting till 11:50 to turn in an assignment that's due at 11:59. We need to just try to, you know, do things a little bit earlier to not cause that stress and anxiety on ourselves. So preventing procrastination, start working on these things now. But feel free to reach out to me with any questions related to this. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find out.
Thank you, Dr. Montague. And Cassidy has already created a little tracking spreadsheet for you. So we'll get you connected to that too. So everyone, I'm gonna move on because of time very quickly. In terms of our roles, we all have different roles to play. And if you take a look at page 4 of your handbook, you have our email addresses and everything. But just so you know, Dr. Acosta, anybody who's interested in you know, doing some graduate work or graduate programs, she's our go-to person. Mrs. Carter, working with your senior methods course, talk about learning community in a minute, and also she'll be your spring university supervisor. I'm the executive director of the program. Dr. Ibarra is your site coordinator. So while you're there on campus at Bryan ISD, beyond your principal, who is the campus and school leader, he's our site coordinator for aggieTERM. So any of those questions that relate to school, he's there to answer for you. Dr. Montague, remediation and test prep tracking. And then Dr. Walichowski is also a co-director, and she's working, we're working together on making sure we attend to your induction needs, also the induction needs of your mentor as well. All right, so we all have different roles to play. Your classroom.
Dr.
Yes,
Jackson, before we move on too far from the exams, just for bilingual purposes, and I don't know if this applies to other exams, but we take several. So do not get stuck with if something doesn't go well with the content. subject area exam, keep moving forward. And so some students got stuck on just waiting to pass different sections of that exam and never moved on to the bilingual generalist or the BTLPT. We don't want to do that. So if you don't pass, you know, let me know right away, but we want you to keep moving forward with the other exams. That's all. I just want to make sure I got that in.
Good point. Excellent.
Dr. Hill Jackson, can I say one thing about the next slide with the roles? Can you please tell us what Cassidy's role is?
Cassidy is, we do not have a graduate assistant for aggieTERM. Cassidy is my new graduate assistant for Ed Prep for that office, and she has taken on some roles to help keep us organized. So if there's something that we need to do, like tracking and getting messages out, Cassidy will help us in that regard. Okay.
Thank you. And I'm saying that just because I know that we're all going to get or have been getting emails from Cassidy, who is amazing. But just so that people, if you see Cassidy Caldwell, read it, please. And then also, Dr. Hill Jackson, there are some assessment-related questions here in the chat box. One of them says, do we need to take the ESL supplemental as well or just content? And number 2 says, does the November 1st due date include the PPR exam?
No, the PPR, the November 1st date is just for the content exam only. That's it. Now, each of you, we have several residents from several different program areas, and each one has a certain set of exams that you have to take. So that's why I've asked Dr. Montague to help us out and make sure that you're tracking what you need to take for your program area, right? So you have someone to go to on the inside. Misty Korn, you've heard that name before. She is our certification officer. She's someone you can check in with, but we wanted someone on the inside of the aggieTERM program as well. So you have Dr. Montague as a resource, and you also have Misty Korn at the university who works with the certification office. So November 1st only applies to the content exam. You still have other exams to take. Yes.
What about the ESL supplemental? Is that answered already? I'm sorry.
We did not answer that. We want you to keep moving along. Well, we want you to get that one done by a particular date, but we will stay in contact with you to make sure that you are very clear on your specific exams, and then we'll set some dates with you privately on those other exams, okay?
So I'll be reaching out to Misty and checking on the required exams for each of you, and look for an email from me, and I'll copy all of the director, co-director, and everyone on that, but sent to each individual student, if that sounds fine, Dr. Hill Jackson.
That sounds perfect. That sounds absolutely what they'll need. Thank you for that. Okay. I'm going to move on. I'm not going to spend time on this slide. Just a reminder that your classroom mentors actually went through some training this summer on how to be a mentor. And that relates, I believe, to our next slide. No, it doesn't. It relates to another slide, and I'll get to it in a minute. But on this slide, I probably need Dr. Ibarra to interject here. Not only do you have a classroom mentor, but you also have a community mentor. And so Dr. Ibarra has, looked around the community and identified some folks who are parents and grandparents and who are business leaders and the like, to give you a sense of what the community is all about. The best teachers are really connected to the community, and they understand the community from which their learners come. So it's important that you have that kind of mentoring as well. So for this program, Dr. Ibarra has identified those folks. You probably have their names. Now here's the requirement, because we want to be clear about this. There was a little confusion last year about this. The requirement is only to have a minimum of 2 meetings per semester, okay? And you can meet however you want. You can meet via video chat, telephone chat, watch a movie, meet for coffee, whatever it is where you feel safe, we want you to meet a minimum of 2 times. Some residents last year met more than that, and one was even invited to a wedding because they became that close. In our handbook, we have a list of some suggested activities that you can do with your community mentor, because sometimes you might be a little confused. Now, who's responsible for reaching out? You can reach out to your community mentor. Don't wait for that person to reach out to you, but start the conversation, and they're waiting for you. Sometimes you all are sort of waiting for each other. So you don't have to be shy, and you can sort of initiate the contact for sure. You also will have to do a service project. Every Aggie has to do a service project. That's a way to get connected to your community mentor as well. It doesn't have to be the only way. You don't have to engage in your community assignment, but it's just another sort of suggestion as well. And the reason why we want to do this is that this is another person that can help support you as you go through the year and you become acclimated to being a teacher. So I'm gonna pause here so Dr. Ibarra can share a few words.
Thank you, Dr. Hill Jackson. Real quick, first of all, we are very fortunate to have some very involved and engaged community members who have asked to be aggieTERM residents, aggieTERM community mentors, and are in that role now. We have 10 residents in Bryan ISD this year. So far, 8 of the 10 we have already met informally, so that we just, based on last year's community mentors, based on their feedback, so that they didn't have to wait until the initial meeting, you know, just to reduce the anxiety of meeting someone new who is now in a professional relationship with our aggieTERM residents. I'm still waiting to hear from 2, and Cassidy and Carly know, following up with them. But also I wanted to clarify that most of the questions that we had last year, and even this year, after our initial informal meeting, related to the community service project. And then also I wanted to let everybody in the group know that I have requested our community mentors and our residents for the fall semester to only meet virtually. Text, phone, FaceTime, Google, Zoom, but until further notice, just to be on the safe side, I have asked him to only please virtually.
Perfect, excellent. And Dr. Ibarra will be in touch with you all to give you updates as needed. All right, so our communication network, just so you know, when there are different folks you go to for different questions that you might have. So take a look at that document in your handbook. It's on page 7. I won't go over it. We sort of talked about each one of these responsibility areas, but you can take a look at page 7 of your handbook for more detail explaining who to go to for certain questions. So there is a final document that you all are responsible for submitting at the end of your residency. And it is called an individualized induction plan. Over the summer, your mentors went through training and they were trained on how to sort of deliver this induction plan paperwork to all of you. Now, working with a clinical, working through the clinical experience and through the senior methods experience as well, sometimes you do these things naturally anyway. But what we want to do is to officially document those experiences, right? Meeting, the first mentoring session, how to set goals, having a monthly assessment report. The mentors have been trained on this, and we all will have a conversation. I'll share the date in a few slides later. We'll have a conversation in September on how to put together this individualized induction plan. So you're going to work on this all year, and then you're going to submit this, these documents in one PDF in April as part of your residency experience. So we won't talk about it today. All of the forms are in your handbook that I need you to download at a later time, put them in a binder, and you'll be working with your mentor all year on these documents. We'll talk about this in a separate meeting in September. I'll share the dates very soon. All right, so our next topic is about how you can get involved in non-mandatory graduate work. And Dr. Acosta is going to talk to you about this slide. Now, we are getting close to our time here, but I want you all to give me grace and give us an additional 10 minutes. I hope you don't mind. Dr. Acosta?
Okay, I'm going to try to do mine in less than 5 minutes. The first thing I want you to do is let's do a 30-second eye sweep of this slide. Up, down, down, up, around. 30 seconds. And then I'll start and try to fill in the spaces. Okay, I think that was actually less than 30 seconds. Let me just tell you very quickly a little bit about the background. This program actually started in 2007 with Dr. Francis MacArthur, who at that time was the Associate Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction. The problem was that there were a lot of alternative certification, bilingual education teachers who really didn't have a background in teaching. This was also a problem for Texas A&M because we needed strong hosting teachers. So the goal of this was to offer to Texas A&M graduates and to create a graduate program and to create a cadre of effective teachers who could serve both of those purposes. And so these were early career teachers. Basically, this is what we've worked with from the get-go, teachers in their first year. And so this is why when you look at the objectives, we still use this. We're trying to accelerate the progress of the teacher toward instructional effectiveness, and we use this in a number of ways. Some of the people that have come out of our program, we've got one who's an assistant that have still remained in Bryan ISD. So this speaks to the effectiveness, I think, of the program. We've got a science specialist currently in BISD, a dyslexia specialist, a vice principal who probably soon will be a principal, and we've had a number of people out of our program that have been instructional coaches, as well as those who kind of become master teachers, expert teachers in their programs. So basically what we did last year was we had 4 people out of aggieTERM that decided, and this was different because we began to focus on an early admit program for undergraduates. They finished, and they're in this group of people who are in their first year. They took one graduate program, one master's program each semester. My job was to help them through it, and they didn't really need a lot of help. A lot of it had to do with, we had weekly meetings. They are now taking the other part of their program, so they're in their second year. And something that's really important that has produced this program is that it's a smooth transition, not only from pre-service, but during these first 2 years of their instruction. So basically what we've done this year, and we have another group of 4, all of those are not from, all of those are not from aggieTERM. They're from different they're going to be in different school districts around Texas. But what the current group that we have right now that's been accepted, they had to submit their admissions as of July 1st. We are also accepting, if there are any of you that are interested in, and we really have pushed this for bilingual education because that's what the program's called, bilingual education. That's what we specialize in. That's the pedagogy. But one of the things that I brought up in our first meeting is I think that this might be something, first of all, it's a degree that has a lot of value. And so some of you who may not have a preparation in bilingual education may actually want to consider this. If you do, then the next group, the next application date, I think is the 1st of September. If you're interested, send me an email. And then you wouldn't take in the first semester, but you would take in your second semester undergraduate work. You would start, and I would continue to meet with that group as well. And so after that, then you would be in that regular cohort. So we would organize it so that you would be in the cohort that would start off learning about action research. And this is given a lot of, it's given a lot of benefit to teachers. So I will say that if there is anyone who would like to do a different program, I think TLAC has curriculum and instruction. I'm certainly willing to work with those people too. If you decide you don't want to continue in curriculum and instruction, you can change programs. That's another possibility. Okay, I think I got it in 3 minutes maybe. Anybody have any questions?
That was awesome, Dr. Acosta. And I love the piece that we keep overlooking. This really is a leadership program. And it really could go a long way to launching your career. So something for you all to think about. Being an aggieTERM graduate work is not mandatory, but it's highly encouraged when you're in a residency program. So if you have any more questions, please email Dr. Acosta directly and she'll work with you. Okay? All right. I'm going to keep it moving, everybody. Stipends. This is very important. So last year we gave out stipends every month, and it caused a little bit of a conflict for students in terms of some students with their financial aid. So this year we're trying something a little different. What we want to do is have Bryan ISD issue your check every month. And so I've been in contact with the business office in Bryan ISD. We're getting this worked out so that you don't have any issues with your financial aid packages right now. So this is what we're looking at doing. We're waiting for final approval, but this is what we are working on for all of you. So starting the end of September, you each will receive $1,000 a month. So after taxes, that's $833 about, okay? And then you'll receive a stipend every month until the month of, I believe, for 10 months, which equals $10,000. And then in August of next year, you'll receive the $1,000 plus an additional $5,000. So you'll get $6,000 in the month of August for 2021. That extra $5,000 there, it's not really an extra, it's sort of the difference, but from the $10,000 from your monthly payments, that's considered like your sign-on bonus. So it's $1,000 a month starting in September, and then in August of next year, it's $6,000. So we're working on it behind the scenes so you all can get your first stipend at the end of September. On page 23 is a little bit of the handbook that I emailed to all of you, is a little bit of information about paying into what we call the Texas or teacher retirement system. So this really is a benefit to you all, because when you start as a teacher, you start at the first level, the first stage of a pay rate, but because you're starting a year early, you're actually paying into the teacher retirement system a little bit early. So it really is a benefit to all of you all to get your check from Bryan ISD, and you don't have to worry about the hassle of it interfering with your financial aid packages. Dr. Ibarra?
Yes, ma'am. Just for the residents today, as of today, August 18th, like Dr. Hill Jackson said, there are so many details about this program that we're working on. However, I want to make sure that you know that you need to keep up with this and with us, because like Dr. Hill Jackson said a few minutes ago, a lot of the stress aggieTERM residents had when we first started related to their financial aid. And because it was there's a lot of, I guess, I don't know, fine print, small print that go into this. So just make sure, don't take my word for it. Let me just say that. Make sure that we and Texas A&M verify whatever it is that is supposed to happen, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Okay, not that we didn't, we did actually, but it was complicated.
Yeah, it was complicated. I think a lot of the residents from last year, because we did it in-house, they got the monies firsthand, but for about 3 or 4 of them, it really complicated the monies that they receive for financial aid. So we're trying to bypass that this time by giving the money directly to Bryan ISD so that they can pay you and you can get paid from Bryan ISD. So hopefully you won't run into any of those problems, but fingers crossed. So please, again, look out for your first stipend at the end of September. All right, guys,
I have a question.
Yes.
So for the end of September stipend, are we getting 2 months into that one? Or is it just that 1 month? Yes, ma'am.
For September, it is one stipend, $1,000 per month.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Good question.
Thank you.
And I am the person to see about your stipends. So if you have any questions, email me directly. Okay. All right. And then we've wrapped up our presentation for today. I have some save the dates before we say goodbye to you all that I need to go over. But let's pause here and see if there are any questions in the chat or if you want to engage your mic. Dr. Ibarra has a question.
I know. And here's the thing. It's not that I have all these questions. I'm just passing the questions from the mentors. Dr. Hill Jackson, Dr. Walczewski, Dr. Acosta, Dr. Montague, can you please help the class, since we are recording, last year we met with the mentors, but I've had some questions from the classroom mentors regarding their specific role. They have a job description, they've been trained, but then they've been working with our residents and they are concerned. They're like, oh my gosh, they have to do schoolwork and then they have to do this. And we're like, yeah, because that's what makes this program so thorough. However, can you please clarify as much as possible the classroom mentors role? Because some of them were saying, oh, I don't want them to do so much.
They don't want the residents to do so much?
They were concerned about all the things that they had to do. And then I was trying to explain, well, that's actually not that we want to overload you guys, don't get me wrong, but just trying to explain, listen, this is part of the rationale behind aggieTERM program, expose the residents to what teachers, and it's interesting, this week alone, they have seen it. All the things that teachers go through, you know, development, meet the teacher night as we speak, still happening. So all those things, can you please clarify on the role? These are questions that came from the classroom mentors directly.
Yeah, thank you. And I will encourage my peers to engage their mic and share as well. But we really are looking for a slow onboarding of our residents. So by that, I mean that they should just be in a supportive role at this point. We do have a pacing schedule in the handbook, but that's for spring of next year. But while they're ramping up to start in the school, their job is to be in a supportive role, to observe lessons, to help with lesson plans, to do whatever assistance that is needed. They should not be teaching at all. They can take on the role of maybe working with small groups come October or so, but right now they are less associate teacher and more of a sort of helper in the classroom. So if they need some webinars created or lesson plans or grading or observations or anything to be a support, that's what they should be doing. And then by October, they can slowly start taking on those traditional sort of teacher experiences, small groups, you know, running particular lessons. That's when towards the middle of the semester, when these learners can take on those roles. So it should be a slow onboarding. And by November, December, they should have at least 2 whole class experiences under their belt from start to finish. So we have some documents on that. I need to check the handbook to see if it's in there, but I would love an opportunity to meet with the mentor teachers just because of the environment that we find ourselves in, to ensure that we're all on the same page. I know we were supposed to have a meeting, but I'd be happy to jump into a meeting so that we're very clear on how to support the residents. To our residents who are online, you are not teaching yet, okay? We consider you baby teachers. Your job is grading, observing, supporting. At no point are you to be teaching lessons right now. And I'm sure your classroom teachers would agree with that. Let me pause and just hear from my colleagues if they want to chime in, if you want to engage your mic, just to reiterate what I'm saying here.
I will be sending a welcome email to all the mentor teachers. So that's another reason that we're glad we have all of the contact information now for every one of them. And there is an email I will send out saying, you know, if you have any questions, and we can include some of the expectations in there just right now until they have a chance to meet, if that's okay with you, Dr. Hill-Jackson.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But there's a senior methods letter that will go out, and we can send that to all the teachers too. Then maybe that will help them.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I forgot that our office, our field placement office, is sending out a letter to all the sending out a letter as well. So they'll get information. And Dr. Ibarra, whenever they'd like to have a meeting, I'll adjust my schedule to accommodate them.
That's great. Thank you so much. And just so that you know, they, just like I've told the residents, first of all, we're talking about all these things, and the residents know these teachers very well already. And they have amazing relationships, and they have been selected to be part of this program. So these were just questions, you know, just trying to get clarification. And same thing with the community mentors, which again, we have 8 out of 10 who have already met virtually with our residents. And I'm still waiting on 2, but I'm moving to plan D with that, because as you know, COVID has shifted
Changed
things.
the game. It's changed the game.
It is. But real quick, can you please also, there were a lot of questions about, when I met with them, about the community service project. Can you give some examples of what this looks like?
Well, let me get with Dr. Carter, because every year the senior method students have a service project that they've been doing, or maybe I'm confusing that with the spring. Is that the spring?
No, it's this semester. You're not doing it.
All right, so it may look different because of us being in a virtual environment, okay? Because I hadn't even thought about that. So let me get with Dr. Carter, and so we will see what adjustments they're going to do with that, and then we'll share that with the group. We'll be sure to share it.
Thank you. And the last question I have is for you, Dr. Hill-Jackson. Since we are recording this meeting, and it's going to be, I mean, the principals, Shannon McGee at Middle School, Danielle Legg at Henderson Elementary, and then Debbie Earhart at Crockett, they're very excited about this partnership. What should they know or think about, or what would we want them to know as part of the aggieTERM core group?
Oh, wow. Good question. So I am to all of the principals, the leaders and classroom mentors. First of all, just thank you for your service to our K-12 babies and all that you've been doing. I know you've had to rethink what teaching looks like. And part of that rethinking, you've decided to open up your classroom doors for aggieTERM students. They are there to be not in the way, but also as a support to the families and to the teachers. So as you gear up for the beginning of the school year, really think about how they can support in terms of communication with families, grading, prepping lessons, just being sort of that additional set of hands that every teacher will need. So that's where we are, you know, aggieTERMs at this phase, extra set of hands, But by the time we get them to January, the goal is that they'll be considered associate teachers and there to be a partner in the classroom. Thank you, guys.
Okay, I have a question. So for like our content exam and 240 tutoring, I don't want to stress one of them out. So do we send it to Cassidy and CCU, or do we just send it to you? I don't want to send it to the wrong person.
So what is your question about 240 tutoring?
Do we just send our content exam results and the 240 tutoring for like the reimbursement to Cassidy and she'll send it to you, or we send it to you?
Just send it to Cassidy and Dr. Montague as well.
Okay.
Because they're going to be in charge of those things, and we'll make sure that you're fine. Okay.
Thank you.
Good question. Thank you for asking. Any additional questions, everybody? Please let me know. This is our last slide. Just want to remind you of some save the dates. Remember that interactive calendar that I said Cassidy created for us? So these dates are in that link already. So nothing for you to write down if you want to take a screenshot, but I am going to send out this recorded webinar, our little meeting, and I'm also going to share the PowerPoint as well. So we will meet as a learning community. Mrs. Carter has graciously accepted to be your learning community coordinator. And this is where we get to have fun, guys. So we refer to her as Ma Carter because she treats everybody like her baby. And so she really takes care of you guys. So this semester in the fall, we're going to have 3 learning community events. We're going to have movie night. That's September 18th. It's going to be a little longer, going to be 7 to 9:30. That's a little longer because we need to review your IIP, right? Those documents that you need to collect over the entire year. And then we're going to have our little movie night together. Okay. Then in October, we're going to have a book club night. So we have a book that we're reading together. We're going to assign the different chapters. You'll get all that information in a follow-up email. And then on our 3rd meeting in the semester, it's called Cooking with Ma Carter. And that's November 20th. And so everything you need for a movie night, book club, and Cooking with Ma Carter, we're going to send to you via email from Amazon. Okay, so you get a little Amazon package. So make sure you email your physical address where you receive packages to Mrs. Carter tonight. So we have it on file, okay? And then we have other dates that you all need to be aware of, and this includes everyone. So we're having We Love Our Mentors special little gathering on February 12th. We did that this year. We had a lot of fun, Dr. Walachowski and I putting that together. It may be virtual. Hopefully we'll be out from under all this mess, but we'll plan for face-to-face if we are. If not, it's going to be virtual. And then contract signing day. This is the date that I've requested for us to have a little special acknowledgement of your year. So make sure that everybody you love is aware of that date, and they have it on their calendar as well. So that's Thursday, April 29th from 4 to 5:15. Okay. So that's our save the dates. You all will get this recording very soon. You know who to contact for what. We are here for you. We are here for you. We are here for you. This is going to be a year that no one could have predicted. But this is the year you get to show that you have the right stuff for the best profession on the planet, being a teacher. And we got your back, guys. Thanks for joining us tonight. Contact us if you have any questions. Thank you, colleagues, for joining me tonight. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.